USD 49, and we wish you the best. Second item is that we have about 30 folks who came on board or back on board since our last meeting. So many folks, I'm afraid I cannot read all their names like I usually do. I could name a few, but that wouldn't be fair to everybody, so. Come on, guys, that's supposed to be fun. All right, so, okay, anything else? Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Please vote electronically. Same way. All right. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have anybody here that would like to make a public comment during our public comment session? Okay. Anybody else? Is anybody in the hallway? The only reason I'm asking is I need to provide some rules for you. So, okay, I'm going to read this. This is a meeting open to the public, but not a public meeting, which means that we welcome comments from residents of the district, but this cannot become a meeting in which we only listen to comments. Simply put, we have other business that must be taken care of today too. And we have a few rules in place. I guess we won't have to put, there's only one of you, so I think we're okay. But number one, please state your name and address. I have answered, just a minute, I've answered a lot of emails from folks outside the district, but tonight needs to be district folks only. Number two, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. I'll give you 4 minutes. How about that? 4 minutes. If anybody else makes comments, please don't repeat. You're the only one. Board members may ask clarifying questions, but this is your time to speak, not ours. So don't be insulted if we thank you for your comments and don't have any questions for you. Okay. All right.
I am Skylar Zimmerman.
Thank you.
And I need my address.
Are you from Hayes?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
377.
All right.
And I'm just here to talk about like COVID guidelines in USD 49.
Okay.
I want to keep them the way they are. I'm sure most people here at least want to keep them that way, but I know that there are some people in our community that don't want that. I'm just going to talk about that. Give a short speech. My name is Skylar Zimmerman, and I'm a senior at Hayes High. I, along with many other students at Hayes High, support the wearing of masks in school and here's why. Last spring, when our schools closed and we went to remote learning, it was a frustrating experience for many of us. I miss my friends, I miss my teachers, and I miss many school events. My wish for my senior year is to be in school because it's the best way to learn. I believe if we all wear masks, practice good hygiene, and maintain physical distancing, we will be able to keep our staff and students' bodies safe. Today, some of my friends and I collected 129 signatures from students and staff at Hayes High. If we had more time, we would have collected more signatures. I'd like to present the school board this list of students and staff who support the wearing of masks. Thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you for your comments. And we'll, why don't you pass that list off to the superintendent? Yeah. And we'll look at it later.
Nice job. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming to talk to us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Skylar.
Good job. Anybody else? Oh man, I read the whole instructions just for one guy. All right, that's very good. Thanks for coming up here. Okay, the next item is the presentations. We have a couple. We have Hayes High Middle School highlights, and we have USD 49 social, emotional, and mental health programs. So I will turn this over to the superintendent to get us going.
Okay, I won't talk very long because Mr. Albers got here in time. I might have had to fill had he not got done with his site council meeting. But as part of our work study sessions, we will highlight a different school each month as part of the work study sessions. And so tonight we're just starting with Hayes Middle School. Mr. Albers is going to highlight some of the things that are happening at Hayes Middle School. So Mr. Albers, take it away.
Good, very good.
Hello, guys, ladies. Wait for it to, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You probably don't even need this this probably doesn't even matter, does it? You know what I'm saying? So, all right, so thank you for letting me speak a little bit about Hayes Middle School. I wish we could have had you at the school like we did last year, but that's the way it goes, and we just keep moving on and adjusting as how things work out. just a couple of things here. If I can get this to work. I'm going to just go through some stuff. Our motto for the year is patience, flexibility, and grace. We've had to use all three of those phrases multiple times. I can't tell you how proud I am. I couldn't be more proud of our students, our parents, and our staff on just how everything's gone this year, because it's been up and down, it's been left and right, but our students have been fantastic, and it's been fun. It is what it is, but they have been great. The mask issue has not been one problem ever. Our staff have been fantastic. They love having the kids in the school system. I don't know that I've had anyone tell me as a student, and I ask as many as I can every day, are you glad you're here? And the answer is always yes. And I think that we just learned last year how important it is for us to be in our school. So we finished the first week of remote learning this last week, and I would tell you it went as well as can be expected. But, there was hiccups, and we will get better at that. We didn't want to have to do it this soon, but we did. Our staff got together on Monday. Shout out to all of them, Marie Henderson for coming in and rearranging her schedule, and really spending 6 hours of just getting your sleeves rolled up and working hard and trying to figure out how we can make it work. Like I said, it went well. We just had our site council with our parents, and really they were very complimentary about how everything went, so that's good to hear. What else here? So we are going to welcome 10 new staff members to our school this year. Here's the list of names. Okay. I did put Rebecca Kuehl in there. She is not technically new. She was part of our SPED department last year, but we did transfer her over to our ELA department. She's a wonderful teacher as well. So we are very excited about the future of HMS. If you count this group and last year, we have 18 new staff members in our building over the last 2 years. It's a significant amount of change. But it's awesome. We've lost experience. We understand that. But as these teachers gain experience, the future looks bright as well for HMS. We do have some teachers that have experience that have moved here as well. But like I said, I'm very proud of the efforts that they've given us. You can tell who our new teachers are if they're like green new, because they're walking every day with their eyes like this. And I just keep saying it's not normally like this. If you can get through this year, I promise next year is going to be a parade. Okay, so let's talk about some things that have gone on that's pretty cool. So we had to somehow accommodate our new staff, so we had some construction that went on. And so we took our ISS room and we split it into 2 rooms. Our ESL population has gone up, but that program is, because of how it works, she's there 2 days a week. We do have a pair that's there all the time, but we felt like we could make that work by cutting that room in half, and it designed out really well. Shout out to Rusty for helping us get that done in really a short amount of time, and it's working very, very well. So that helped us gain a room. So where the ESL room is, Craig, you'll remember this. That is now a lounge again. So it's a workroom lounge, and so we needed to move that there because it was a sink, so that we could make the lounge a place for Mrs. Sherry Nelson, who we've changed what she teaches, and we needed to use her room for a science room for our 6th grade, and that's a teacher that we moved there, so that helped us out. If you remember our schedule from the last couple of years, we've had seminar 1 period a day, so we had 2 classrooms that covered seminar classes. We do not have seminar in that schedule this way. We have it in our block schedule, which, by the way, I'll go back to our block schedule in a second, but we use those 2 classrooms to help us for accommodating our new staff. And then our former boiler room, with lots of hard work from all of our maintenance people, we were able to build a classroom for our ELA teacher as well. And so if you ever had a chance to see our boiler room at Hayes Middle School, that is now our boiler room.
It's hard to believe that you actually made a classroom out of that.
Yeah, I wished I would have taken pictures before and how all that went. I wished I would have. I don't know why I didn't. Every day I go watch and I go, oh, that's interesting. And so anyway, but huge shout out to Rusty and all of the maintenance guys for their work there. That is Rebecca Kuehl's room. It is cozy, but it works well. And considering not having to move her around, and trying to find those spaces in the schedule helps a lot. How is lunch going to work this year? Well, because of the COVID situation, we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to reduce congestion. If you've been in a middle school during lunchtime, you'll know it's pretty congested. And so we developed a plan where we're going to have half of our students in the cafeteria. And so, I'm sorry, I apologize. I was too lazy to walk over and turn the lights on when I took this picture. But you can't really see it in there, but every one of those tables, this is a shout out to Shauna's wife, the assistant principal, who really runs the show over there. She came up with a system. We numbered every table, and then kids know where they're going to sit. We have the same 4 kids at the same section. They can change those 4 seats. It's fine. It's just the same 4. And they know where they're going. And so after we went through it a couple times with them, they've got it down. And so we can serve relatively quickly. Our serving process has changed, but so half of our students are there. And so then the next question is where did the next group go? And so we converted the upstairs gymnasium into a gym cafeteria, whatever they call those things. So we pushed our bleachers in, and you can see there's our setup for students there. They go through one set of doors to go up the stairs. They sit to get there. We have another set of stairs. They go down so that we don't have anyone interrupt each other and they don't run into each other. Shauna's system works well because one class goes to the cafeteria, one class goes to the gymnasium, and we can kind of make sure that we don't have a lot of congestion where people run into each other. I was concerned a little bit about spills, messes, and stuff like that. And just a big shout out to our students because of the leadership of their ability to accommodate. It's worked great. It's really worked much better than I thought it would. I kind of was dreading it, but it's been great. And I'll tell you what, it also is much quieter when you take half the student body and put them in different places. That has its advantages as well. And so, again, that worked out great. If I can get this to click. Quickly go over our KISA goals, just as a review. One of them is relationships, and we're going to improve communication with all families. That was the thing that we felt like we should work on a couple of years ago. We're still working through that process. Our parents, the site council really thought that was important. They were glad that we're continuing with that. And then obviously the relevance, that's part of the whole district. And we're using the growth mindset, social emotional learning, and MTSS process to help us with all that part as well. So some good things going on at HMS. So this is the first year of our 7 Mindsets curriculum. It's an online curriculum for social emotional learning. We do it 1 lesson a week during Falcon Squad. That's a period where we have community with our students. It's led by staff. We also have what we call a grade graphing session every Wednesday. It's allowing students to be able to grade they graph their grades. It's a way for them to monitor how they're doing. We ask them to write a weekly goal. It can be grade-based, it could be attendance-based, it could be, I'm going to say hi to a person every day, I'm going to do an act of kindness. It could be all kinds of things. It's just an idea of setting a goal that they can measure and that they can accomplish. Through that graphing, we can quickly have a teacher go through and look, and you can see just by the scale of the grades, if there's an issue or a hiccup somewhere, we'll take that information and put it into our built-in seminar, which is part of the day with the Falcon Squad teacher. So we have the Falcon Squad teacher during the second class of the day. Then they come back to the Falcon Squad teacher for the seminar teacher. It is academic, strictly academic. That's also where we'll do MTSS intervention as well. But that way we can use the information that we see and help students. So if there's problems or hiccups, we can help them with wherever they need that. This is the 3rd year of our Signs of Suicide. It started with Julie Zollinger's here. This year, every student will participate. It's been a fantastic program for us. The program changes through the year, so 6th grade is more intense than the 7th and 8th in terms of how much, because we don't have as much repetition. But we've had the data for us has been great in terms of how we can tie that into our social emotional learning. The next part of this presentation, which I'm about done with, is going to be about our MHIT program. That's our mental health liaison. It's the 2nd year. Jamie Malone is in charge of that. We hired her last year. All I can say is that we hit a home run with her experience and knowledge and working with High Plains. It's the stats alone are just very, very impressive in what we can do. We're doing things that I didn't think would ever get done, including bringing High Plains to even having group sessions after school. It's all done in confidentiality. No one would ever know what happens there. The way our system's designed, it just flows. And the kids, the kids have really felt like it's a really positive thing as well. I think that is it. Oh, here's our 7 Mindsets portal. I just took a screenshot of that, and our teachers are able to log into that, and then we can distribute lessons through it. Our first lesson went very well. Talking to lots of students and staff, they said that it was a good program to get. One of the parents that we had in our meeting today, she's from out of state. They moved here, and she said that they had 7 Mindsets at their school, and she could say nothing but great things about it. And everything that we've heard, kids really like it. There's stuff we can do that we can use in there for our in-school support program. There's things that teachers can use if they want to go somewhere else and get some other resources, but the opportunities are pretty endless with that. And so the rest of the year, we're going to try and survive and improve. And any questions for you on my end?
Tom, how many students do you have this year?
So, great question. I was going to throw that out there and I forgot. So, it's weird how this ebb and flow of everything this year has been. At one time, we were up to 767, but through kids transferring and kids ended up checking in and then moving out, or we have had a couple that have gone to online through other programs. We are at 740, and we have 46 online students. So really, in the building right now, we're at 694, which is, we were at 694 for a high last year. By the end of the year, we were short of that, but we're at 694. I just noticed that today we had another one enroll, and we have another one enrolling tomorrow. So I think that's it. And so we started out with 50-some. Students that are doing the parent choice remote, but a lot of them have come back, and just because they like what they're seeing at the middle school, and so that's encouraging too. Some of our students do need to do that because of health, but it's gone very well.
One other thing, kudos for making room when you didn't have room out of the boiler room and the balcony of the gym, but the balcony of the gym's not a long-range solution for your lunchroom, is it?
Oh, please no.
I just wanted others.
Well, and so we have our first home volleyball today, and so we had to take all those tables down and stack them, and all the chairs, and stack them on the other side of the gym. And remember, they're numbered. And I told our custodian, whatever we do tomorrow, we have to keep the numbers in order, or the whole lunch process is ruined. So, I wouldn't. It'll work for this year, but I would prefer that it didn't work longer than that.
And also is your wrestling room when it's wrestling, right? Correct?
No, we actually now go to high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just too hard.
During PE, they've been wrestling up there.
Yeah, although I will tell you that with basketball this year, because it's a really big hassle to try and take it down, if we can just pull both bleachers out on the lower floor, we're going to do it. If we need to go upstairs, we will, but I don't think we will.
Tom, you said you had 18 new staff members?
Well, 18 in the last 2 years.
In the 2 years. Out of those 18, how many of those are new positions?
You
didn't have last year, I mean.
Let's say 12. I mean, I'm not, that's a guess.
And you said that, have you met with your site council?
Yes, tonight.
What is your schedule? Do you meet monthly or how?
Every month, the first Monday of the month.
Okay, thank you.
And we had a nice turnout. We had, to be honest, in middle school, if you get 10 people, that's a great night. So. And they gave me a bottle of water and some time to talk, so that didn't go well. That was pretty easy.
Just to clarify the question, when you say new positions, or like new teachers, or actual new positions?
They're not new positions. They're just people that have replaced that we're taking.
My question was how many new positions?
Oh, new positions? Four new positions.
4 new.
And to be honest with you, one of them is really not, it's kind of, we use them to help us in our wood room, but that's 1 hour a day because we can't build the schedule any differently. And that room doesn't allow you you can't use one part of the room and not the other, you have to use both. When you're putting 30 kids in there, that you can't put all 30, you know that, Alan, you've been in there with the wood shop, so. Anything else?
I guess, thank you very much for the information.
Thanks, Tom.
Good rest of your semester.
All right.
seeing the soccer guys. I'm a little sore.
Oh, great. Okay, next up, USD 49, social, emotional, and mental health programs.
Just checking.
Good evening. Is that close enough?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'd like to talk to you all. Thank you for the invitation to come and talk to you all about our mental health intervention team program. And I'm going to talk about last year's program for the most part, and then talk a little bit about what our plan is for this year. But in 2017 or so, the Kansas State Department of Education decided that there were greater behavioral health needs in the public school systems in the state of Kansas than were being met. And they looked at ways to put mental health providers in the school systems and quickly learned that there was just a shortage of professional staff to do that. There were not enough additional therapists, counselors, providers to come in to be hired by the school district to come into the schools and provide those therapy services or behavioral health services. They also knew that the services needed to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year, not just during the school day from 7:30 to 3:30, Monday through Friday. They knew that weekend coverage, evening coverage, holiday coverage, and summer coverage was going to be needed. They also knew that there were barriers to services, including transportation, parents not being able to take their students into services, particularly when they were 30 or 60 miles away, or parents being able to take off work in order to pick up their kids at school, take them to their therapy services, and then bring them back to the school. Then they also knew that kids were not always coming back to the school building to finish the school day once they had left the school for their therapy appointment that day. So what the Kansas Department of Education did was partnership with the Association of Community Mental Health Centers. That's located in Topeka, but the association includes 26 or so community mental health centers in the state of Kansas whose boundaries do not overlap. So every county has their own assigned community mental health center. And for Ellis County, that's High Plains Mental Health Center. High Plains does have 20 counties that they cover their mental health services with, and they have more than just the office in Hayes. They have branch offices throughout the 20 counties here in northwest Kansas. So what happened at Hayes Middle School was last summer, summer of 2019, the school counselors identified a grant opportunity through a listserv that's sent out to all the school counselors in the state of Kansas. They bumped that on up the chain here at USD 489, and a grant application was submitted, and that included a summary of need for 489. That included the number of students that were in mental health services that the school counselors were aware of. That included the number of psychiatric hospitalizations that were occurring with students at Hayes Middle School, and that included suicide attempts that the counselors were aware of. So once that summary of need was reviewed by the Board of Education in Topeka, the grant was awarded late in the summer of 2019. I was hired in September of 2019. I came on board late in October. By the next month, we had school-based recovery services in place with a recovery specialist or case manager, for a better description for a layperson. These services were provided in the school building, both during the school day and after school. The school day that was used included those elective courses and not the core courses of math, language arts, social studies, and science. And then at the very beginning of the second semester in January, we then had a school-based therapist at the school a day and a half a week. And the therapist, we had identified students that were not only in services at that time, but also were needing services. And as the liaison, I would contact the parents after the school counselor had contacted the parents to explain what the issues were and what the opportunities were. Then I made the next contact with parents to describe the program and ask what their interest level was. And we had a lot of people very interested. We had very few people say, no, I've got this covered with another provider, or no, I don't think this is necessary. We really had pretty full engagement with parents and guardians. We did have a few foster care kids as well. It was a priority for the Kansas Board of Education, Kansas Department of Education, to target foster children. So services were being provided a day and a half a week around the student's schedule. We used their elective courses, or we continue to use their elective courses of orchestra, vocal, band, PE, those courses in which they could quickly make up their coursework, art, if they missed a class in those elective courses. We do not take them out of social studies, science, math, and language arts. So the services being provided there at the school reduce these barriers of transportation, parents having to take off from work, and kids not going back to class after their therapy session. We then in January or February started, or the recovery specialist from High Plains started a group, a psychosocial group after school. Of course, after the executive order, this executive stay-at-home order, some of those services did drop off. They did continue to be provided by Zoom and by phone call from the staff at High Plains Mental Health Center. The students were allowed to use their Zoom app on their school-issued iPad to engage in those therapy services. Then eventually, even before we came back to school, the recovery specialist was providing a psychosocial group in the school building during those last few weeks of the school year, and then all the way through the summer session. But what the grant includes is the Kansas State Department of Health provides 75% of my salary and benefits. They provide a stipend to High Plains Mental Health Center to provide these services. They maintain the database in which I enter the data of the students for record keeping, and then they coordinate all the school liaison activities, not only here in Hayes, but also across the state. And then USD 489 provides 25% of the school liaison salary and benefits, the administrative support, and submits the reports of expenses to KSDE. And then we provide 2 progress reports to the Kansas Department of Education the end of December, and then the final report in June. So what we're keeping track of is 4 particular indicators. The legislators had to approve this. What is it? In Speak Up. They had to approve the grant each year. This is the 3rd year that they have approved it, but the legislature has approved it, and the legislature told the Board of Education, Department of Education rather, that they wanted the application process to be simple, and they wanted the grant reporting process to be simple. And it has been. The grant is very easy to complete, and the reporting that's done twice a year is very easy. They want to know how many students have been provided services, and how many students had seen some improvement in these 4 indicators. So when we're bringing a student into services, we're looking at what their attendance is before services so that we can see if there's been attendance improvement. We're looking for improvement in academic engagement, and that's more than just the GPA. That's also, has there been improvement in the students attending class and engaging in the classroom, and turning in homework assignments, which of course is going to improve their GPA, but we wanted to look at the entire scope of academic engagement. And we're also looking for the improvement in internalizing behaviors, and those are behaviors of anxiousness, depression, stomachache, headaches, those kinds of symptoms that you can't always see, but are going on in a student that needs behavioral health services. And then we're looking for improvement in externalizing behaviors. And those are the behaviors you do see, you can count, you can measure. Trips to the office for disciplinary matters, acting out in the classroom, trips to the nurse's office for stomach aches or headaches, or classroom avoidance, and in-school suspension, and in-school or out-of-school suspension as well. So we're looking for improvements there. So our final report for last school year, included 47 students receiving services. 22, or 61%, saw an improvement in school attendance. Now, that's not to say that every student had a problem with school attendance, It was only the students that had an issue with school attendance that got counted in this 61%. But 61% saw improvement there. 71% had improvement in academic engagement when there was an issue or problem with academic engagement at the beginning, or when we first started services, and that 61% saw improvement in internalizing behaviors, and 72 saw improvement in externalizing behaviors. That was from the 47 students that were in the program last year. So just a brief summary here of the grant expansion, just so we can kind of see what has gone on through the state. The first year, 2018 and 19, was a pilot project year. The school districts that participated were invited to participate. It was not a grant application. There were 9 school districts with 6 community mental health centers and in 82 buildings with 45 liaisons. They treated about 1,700 students. And then the grant application process took place last year and then again this year. So for this year, the 2021 school year, there are 56 school districts participating now with 17 mental health centers, that's over half, with 232 school buildings, 103.3 liaisons, and it's estimated that 4,800 students will be served. And then this year is also the first year that the grant was opened up for schools to work with non-mental health center providers. And there were 3 school districts that are working with other mental health providers other than the community mental health centers. So you can see how well it just expanded significantly. Yes.
Can you explain that a little bit, what that means when you say non-mental health providers?
To give an example here in Hayes, it would be somebody like, and in Hayes, we don't have any outside providers, but in Hayes, it would be a provider such as Turning Point Counseling, Serenity Counseling, Clinical Associates, those private practitioners that are not associated with a community mental health center. We don't have any in our district, but there are 3 in the state.
I see.
That were allowed into the grant to receive the stipend and provide services in the school.
I see. Okay. That makes sense.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good question. Yeah.
Now, any other questions before I wrap up? Okay. So this school year, back in June, when the application was due for this school year, we applied for expansion, and we applied for 2 full-time liaisons because we wanted one placed at Hayes High School. And we received the grant for 2 liaisons. So Lindsay Christenberry, who could not be here tonight because of family priorities, will be at Hayes High School. She started a couple of weeks ago. And then I'll be at the middle school again. I put our credentials up there just so you can see you've hired qualified people. Lindsay has her master's degree in social work, and I have my master's degree in nursing, and I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner. So we'll be taking on the 2 school buildings here with the middle school and the high school, and we've worked together quite a bit. Lindsay's been to the middle school, and I've shown her what processes we have in place at the middle school, so she can either duplicate those at the high school or find something else with her school counselors and school psychologists that will work at Hayes High School. Part of our mental health team is also here today. I want to recognize Julie Zollinger, school psychologist at Hayes Middle School. She was instrumental in the success of this program.
Fantastic. Well, I want to say I'm kind of blown away by how well this program is put together, and so thank you for all the work you've done and the other folks. I'm also blown away by how well the people that put this together at the state level planned ahead for evaluating the program, because
They really
oftentimes
thought it
that
through.
doesn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, they really did a good job.
And it's a nightmare for evaluators to come in after the fact and try to see how well it went. So this is great. I really like it. And you were hired in 2018, I think you said?
No, the end of
19.
October 2019.
I'm sorry, yes.
I did come in the middle of the first semester.
Okay.
How many recovery specialists do you have?
Well, they are employed by High Plains Mental Health Center.
Okay.
But we have one at the school that comes regularly 3 days a week. And then they've added a second one
Good.
this year that's not coming 3 days a week speak yet, but I really do believe he will be eventually as his own caseload picks up because he's new to the mental health center. And then there'll be a different one at the high school.
Oh, that'd be great.
For the high school population.
That'd be great.
Yes, absolutely. We do have the luxury of having the therapist at the middle school. I understand that the therapist at the high school will probably be by Zoom. So, just because resources are tight.
We are out in the middle of nowhere, so that kind of, sometimes you have to do Zoom.
Yes.
Tammy? Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for this report, and certainly a lot of information there. The 47 students was really only a semester, correct?
Well-
Or the end of the school semester, or the fall, and then all of January, or the
January,
spring semester?
February, and March. And actually, we had several students enter into the program even during the executive order to shut down the buildings.
Okay.
We had a student arrive from out of the country. We had a student arrive from out of state. We had a student arrive with 1 month worth of medication to go, and then they were going to be out. But we got that person into services and got their medication refilled before they ran out. We had a 5th grade parent contact us over the summer months to say, hey, I want to get my child in the program so that he's ready for 6th grade to jump right into therapy services. And then the first week of school, we had about 6 parents come in and say, my child's in services at High Plains. How do I get those services here at the school rather than me having to take them to the main office and have them miss out on classes? So word's getting around, and we're picking up students right and left.
So without it being a COVID, global pandemic, we could have anticipated this next year's report to be double because of the longer time frame. But how do you feel, or what are your thoughts in terms of how the pandemic is impacting your services?
We are seeing anxiety levels go up in students. I mean, this happened back in March. It was interesting, in those students that stayed home with anxiety, with school anxiety and school phobia and school avoidance, actually did okay at home. But as there were just a few of those. The other side of that coin is students coming back to school fairly anxious, feeling behind, not knowing what's going to happen this school year. I think that's a bit of the unknown that is increasing the anxiety levels. But I think we have parents that are reaching out and saying, hey, I want to do something about this up front, before it gets to the point where it gets unmanageable or my child suffers because of their symptoms. So I think we're on the right track. We're prepared, put it that way. Yes.
Jamie, you look at this program as expanding in the future?
We do.
Good.
We look to expand. Would you like to answer that question?
Go ahead.
Into the elementary school, perhaps at the kindergarten level at some point.
Good.
And I am so glad, this is a program, the problem's been there for years. I'm glad to see the intervention is involved in the schools now. And Tammy kind of questioned what I was going to hit with everything you read, with the amount, with everybody being forced to be at home, the amount of domestic violence, depression, anxiety. I can't imagine that our cases won't be going up.
Child abuse, substance abuse, yeah. I agree. Right. We're ready.
Do you currently have an opportunity to
Thank you.
work with elementary students if there's a issue that needs help?
Yes, we do have that.
How does that work?
We have been given the latitude by the Kansas Department of Education to help those other schools, those other teachers, principals that need assistance with getting someone into services at High Plains without necessarily being in their building, managing those students on a daily basis. So it's more of a as-needed situation where we can help in the elementary schools.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah, for instance, last week we had an admin meeting and they were talking about, some students that might benefit. So Jamie reached out to that admin and offered to help. Because really her role as a liaison knows how to reach out to those parents and visit and really try to help the family, the student, get the mental health support they need. So, yeah, we will look at those opportunities as they arise and use Jamie and now Lindsay in that capacity. We've talked about if the funding continues, that's a huge part to let our legislatures know how important this is so that the funding does continue and we can grow the program. You know, what's the right amount of liaisons for our district our size? We felt like starting with the middle school made a lot of sense, and I think that was a good move. Hiring the right people makes a lot of sense, though, and serves in our favor, so I can't thank Jamie enough. But High Plains has been amazing. They've given us a point of contact as a school, so that communication, I think, has been really good, and that is something that serves our families well. So we've tried to add a lot of layers for that social emotional. We have the mental health grant, which has been amazing, but the board approved adding an elementary counselor, some counseling positions, you know, in the past, so we have a counselor at every elementary school and then at the middle school and high school as well, so that's been huge. Tom talked about the 7 mindsets being their social emotional curriculum. Second step is at all of our elementaries this year. Wilson piloted it last year. By the January, the other 3 elementaries will be implementing it. They're taking some time this fall to kind of get their feet under them and start looking at that. At the high school, they use Pride Time. They've redesigned some Pride time to devote to some social emotional learning. So even our pre-K at the Connections, there's some mental health support through High Plains there. So the need is there. We've tried to add not just one thing, but several layers so that we can reach as many students and families as possible.
So, Shanna, currently everything that we have is supported by the grant and is within the budget of the grant, or is we are happy to supplement that in some ways?
Well, as she said, that we pay 25% of the liaison
in-kind.
salary, and now there are 2.
Okay. So that's the in-kind services that we'll have to provide. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Troy Wavemaster has been a supporter of the program too. If any of you know him and want to give him kudos.
When will we know for the next school year on the grant? They
run a really tight window. It's due June 10th or so, and they discuss it at their July meeting and then put it out at the end of July, and then the applications are due right away again. And so hopefully someday it won't be a grant-funded program. It'll be a state-funded program, and we won't have to run on that narrow window.
I mean, we really had maybe a week or 2 weeks to turn it around this year. It happened so quick because everything was up in the air, and it's a great program, but of course you can see how it's expanded. I was very fortunate. I was one of the original 9 districts where I was, and how it's just grown, and everything that Jamie said. And Mike used the term "blown away." What's really blown away is that we hired Jamie in October. I told Julie and I told Tom, we'll be lucky if we're impacting kids and families by January, I said, and by November we were rocking and rolling. So it's unbelievable. It does take the right people. Jamie has just really set the bar very high. We're doing great things for kids and families, and man, I just can't say enough good things about what's happening.
Thank you.
Very good, very good. Hey, Jamie, you mentioned we should give a shout out to Troy for supporting the program. Do you want to tell us who's not supporting it?
I don't know who's not supporting it. I don't know if anyone voted against it, but when Troy was the chair of House Ways and Means, we reached out to him. The Department of Education asked me to reach out to him, and I did, and he said, yes, I'm absolutely in full support.
I can tell you from the Department of Ed, the financial side, when I was in Topeka, they were giving big kudos to Jamie because she got Mr. Waymaster won over, and that made a big difference.
Are you?
So, yeah, Dale and Brad both made it a point to come and catch me and say, hey, you tell her thank you because that made a big difference.
That's cool.
So.
Now we do have some stars in our district, and you're one of them, so that's great.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
All righty. Next item on the agenda is the Superintendent Report.
Okay, just some things I want to talk or share with you. How about non-COVID related information? How about that? Let's start with that.
Please.
There are a few things. I'm going to try to keep it on that for a little bit. I just think it's important that, and one of the things of the highlights or what I wanted to do with board meetings is recognize individuals. We've kind of slowed that down with COVID and bringing in a lot of people, but I did want to give a recognition to Jessica Yonker, our food service nutrition director. She was recognized at the State Board of Ed meeting last week for the Kansas Can Best Practices Award for stepping up to lead. Jessica chaired the KSD Navigating Change for Reopening Schools this past summer for the nutrition services, and she was recognized at the State Board meeting. So she represented our district, carried the banner for the district throughout that, so we appreciate that. I think there's, as maybe this doesn't really fit into the non-COVID, but I'll share it anyway. Homecoming information. That is coming up on October 2nd. They've made a few changes, I think, for the homecoming based on some COVID things. The parade will not be done downtown. Instead, the parade will be right before the game, and there'll be a parade around the track at the stadium. Instead of floats, they're going to do some door decorating. And in the high school, we are going to limit capacity for the homecoming game to 50% of the stadium's capacity, but we're fairly confident that we'll be able to still get everybody in. What that might mean is that some people who normally like to sit on the home side may have to go sit on the visitor side to kind of spread out, and we'll just ask people to kind of try to keep spread out, and hopefully we won't have to turn anybody away. They're going to, do all the things that are important for homecoming. The royalty will be announced before the game, and then the crowning will be at halftime. They're going to do a dance. Of course, it's going to be outside after the game, but it sounds like it's going to be a good time. They're going to have games and food trucks and mechanical bucking bulls and all kinds of it. So it might be something good. And
Where will that be?
I think I might be the football field.
Same place that Project Graduation is.
Okay, I don't really know where that's going to be. It's going to be outside, but I'm not sure where that is. They are going to still going to have the bonfire, but that'll be once again somewhere they'll do. Normally they do the games, in the gym the right before the Friday or the Thursday before. I'm not sure exactly what day, but they'll be doing those games outside and the competitions, class competitions, just to avoid the bringing everyone into the gym. So all the things that you have to do differently for homecoming. Today, our administrators met to begin our partnership with Kansas MTSS and Alignment. This is going to be a 3-year partnership and commitment to Kansas MTSS and Alignment to help us start to look at our structures and systems that we have in place in the district. We had a really good first day. We're going to be working with district alignment specialists that will help us with some intentional educational practices that can support and help ensure that all students' needs are being met and the most effective and efficient ways are being utilized. And so this is something that I'm really excited about. I've worked with Kansas MTSS. We have done a lot of MTSS in this district, and so we're really ahead of the game, but we've never actually worked in terms of what we're doing now with the support and being able to look at it. So really excited about that. Also wanted to talk a little bit about the HVAC project at Roosevelt. The electrical engineers were here last week to walk through Roosevelt with Midwest Energy. Things went well. Design of the system is still being worked on and completed as far as the design phase. I would anticipate that October we will have information for you to look at as in terms of the system, and that also will be at that time in October bringing and looking at some finance options of how we want to proceed and pay for this project. So that will be coming in October. Just next board meeting, we'll also have the resolution for, that'll be the first read for closing the Washington School, and we'll also have that data center refresh for the district, which will include the equipment and the assistance in implementing and migrating the upgrade. That'll be coming to the board, and that's what Scott Summers met with you last meeting on. These are some COVID things. These are just some quick shout outs. I think sometimes in this whole mess, sometimes we have to really take time to recognize people who are doing some great things. I did want to recognize Hayes Middle School just for the complete pivot that they had to do last week by going to remote learning at the drop of a hat. That was a Labor Day work session where we had the middle school with Mr. Alberts. He's gone, but man, we spent Labor Day in the library working on trying to figure out how best to make that situation work. I did want to share something. I thought this was really good. Sometimes we don't always hear good things, but I received a lot of emails, but I did receive this one, and I wanted to share this. It said, just wanted to say how much I dreaded the thought of remote learning this week at Hayes Middle School. Hayes Middle School has done such an amazing job navigating this new way of learning. I know there have been a few kinks in the system, but overall this has been so easy, and the teachers have been wonderful. Just want to say kudos to all of Hayes Middle School for their work. So I think that's important sometimes to understand. And that was done on the drop of a hat, just trying to change and what they did. So
I think they made it look easy. I don't think they said.
yeah, that's the thing. Also want to just give a shout out to Jessica Rowe. We've created a position for Jessica with some of the additions of our school nurses that we've added. We've been able to make her I call her our COVID commander, but she has just been our point of contact for all these issues. I can't even get you to understand how crazy busy she and how valuable she has been to this district in the last, 18 days with dealing with things. So we're just so fortunate to have someone who is handling and being the point of contact. We're trying not to leave her on an island. We try to support her in every way, but I think she needs some shout outs. And just, our teachers and staff, right now I have observed and talked with staff and really have, just heard consistently that, man, they're in this, and they're in this together, and they're ready. They're just really willing to do whatever they can to keep kids in school. And I usually ask them, are you surviving or are you thriving? And many of them are saying, well, I'm probably doing both. But it's been just really uplifting to see how hard our staff is working just to make everything work. We have a very strong culture in this district right now, and I just can't I just don't know if there's anything that we can't withstand. And we're going to get through this. They just have been really amazing, and just very hats off to teachers and custodians and secretaries and bus drivers and cooks and administrators. Everyone is, I think this is the point I want to make, is that everything that they're doing takes double the effort now. It requires you to think through, how can I do that with what we have to do with health and safety protocols, and it's been really remarkable. I think some things just in terms of what we're realizing throughout this COVID situation. We still have very high numbers in our community, but we are seeing numbers starting to trend down, and that's probably the positive I think that we're seeing. I think our 2-week percent positive rate last week was 22%. I think it was 18% as of Friday. So that is good. It's still not the number we need. It's a long ways away from the number we're hoping to be at. We'd like to be less than 5%, but we are hopefully moving in the right direction.
Hey, Ron, are those county numbers, percentage? I mean, are those
Yes,
county
that is
percentages?
that's our county.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And so all buildings have really dealt with some kind of COVID situation at this point. I think that's the thing is we're not trying to say that it was never, we were going to have buildings that it's just going to be part of our world, and we're going to have COVID consistently. But the thing is, and this is the point, it's working. We're making it work, and people are working hard, and it is working. And if we can just continue to work through all situations, we'll get through this. We are looking at maybe trying to re-examine, because like you said, those were county numbers. I think we're trying to maybe try to focus a little bit on our schools and the situations. If when I say 18%, we're probably less than 1% if you take all of our students that we have in schools in terms of the amount of positives we have. So we're definitely down below 1%. So I think sometimes some of those numbers can be scary. I think it's important to look at what's behind those numbers. We have just really been working with, and I think Riley County has kind of been a county that we've kind of hooked up with in terms of looking they have some similar situations with having a large university in their community, and how as schools they can continue to work through all the numbers and the gating criteria and still do the best job that they can. So we've really been working with our Ellis County Public Health official as well as our advisory group to get that off the ground. So just those are just some tidbits in terms of the COVID. I just want to emphasize that we're just doing everything we can, working really hard, and hats off to a lot of people who are making this work.
Ron, I want to echo what you said as well, just with not only the middle school, but also the grade schools and the high school and the other stuff as well. I've heard a lot of great things here over the last week, and I've heard lots of stuff from different people with the middle school as far as how everything was handled. But all too often, the only thing we hear is the negative or the complaints one way or the other. And as the gentleman that spoke actually in open session, said, it's refreshing sometimes to hear that, I think our kids are troopers. And unfortunately, I think us adults, unfortunately, get a little out of hand sometimes in some of our thoughts and beliefs in the way we do that. But I mean, the kids, I think, have been very resilient and shown that, whether it's masks or whatever else, as was brought up, they want to stay in school and they want to continue to do this. So they're going to do what it takes to make it work. And to that, I applaud them. So.
Yeah.
Yes. Very good. All right.
Mike?
Yep.
I just wanted to ask, did you check on the resolution, Article C, where it talks about what the things the board needs to do prior to the resolution?
I visited with Bill. I asked him, do we need to do anything? And you're welcome if you have, yeah.
Mainly the article, the paragraph C, that tells all the things that needs to be done prior to the resolution, which includes the hearing, which we have not done.
And this is for Washington?
Alan, the resolution, once that resolution is, and the board wants to decide, then once that resolution is approved by the board as something you want to do as far as closing, you will set a date for the hearing to occur. So that's what the resolution is about, is setting the hearing.
Well, the
once
first
you approve
sentence,
the resolution.
excuse me, I'm sorry, but the first sentence says, prior to adopting a resolution closing the school building, the Board of Education shall hold a hearing on the proposal.
I just talked to Bill. He gave me that document, and so you'll have to, we'll have to ask him, or do you have some?
Yeah, the resolution that I think Bill's prepared contemplates that hearing's already been held.
Okay.
So you'll have to go through those steps and see. When I talked to Bill this morning, he did not think that we were ready to go with the resolution.
Yeah, you're not approving it at the next meeting. You are just looking at the resolution. That's all you're doing. So once you have the resolution, you can have your hearing.
Okay, so that's you said a first hearing?
No, I said a first read.
reading.
First reading, okay.
First read.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the hearing would be just very similar to our budget hearings that we
Yes.
have, so we can, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, but first week of November, or the first meeting in November, possibly have a meeting.
Once you'll
Yeah,
discuss the resolution and what you want to do, and then I think you can do it as soon or as late. I mean, I think that we have to close the building, close on the building by December 31st.
Yeah, gotcha.
Ron, back
That
in
doesn't seem
March, I requested
not
to
complex.
attend, go into Washington School. Is that possible?
Sure, I can take you in.
Okay, we'll set up an
Yeah.
appointment. Thank you.
Very good. Yeah, good questions. Does seem to be something we can handle with as we always do. Very good. Moving on to the next item, discussion items. The board vacancy first. We have received 2 letters. Let me back up a bit. So what we're doing next, the next board meeting we have, what is that date? 28th of September, somewhere around there. The next board meeting we have, that's when we'll do the interviews of the people that have applied for the job. At the moment, we have 2 letters from folks. I know somebody who might submit a letter. I think Greg mentioned he has somebody that might. So, of course, people can still provide those letters to Jess.
Is there a deadline for that?
I don't think we have one
Or is it before September
specified.
28th?
I don't think there's an actual deadline on the,
Probably should have put one on there, but we didn't, so
yeah.
I guess technically we can't really, I guess we could vote right now.
Assume you could announce a deadline.
Yeah. A week before the meeting?
Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to give everybody time to.
That's a week from today.
What?
That's one.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It is a week from today. Does that sound fair, Ford?
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable. The ad went out quite a while ago. We've talked about it quite a bit, and so I think it's not a surprise that we're accepting letters for the position. We have the letters in board docs right here. We can review those also in the office. So Jess, if any others show up, shoot me an email and I'll let everybody know that we need to come look at those. Okay, pretty good. Any questions, any more questions about that? We need to, I guess as a board, we need to, it's my job to do this. I'll probably communicate with folks by email because we need to decide, we can talk about it right now, but the list of questions we want to ask. I was thinking, I think I emailed you all, if we had one question per board member and we asked, we allowed 5 or 10 minutes for an answer, that's going to pretty much eat up an hour. So I don't know if we want to ask too many questions of these folks. I think it might be easy to just coordinate on what questions you want to ask. Is that okay with everybody? So I'll reach out to you, but you can email me the questions, I can compile them, and then we can discuss it through email. I think that's legitimate. It's not, we're not setting policy by email, we're just reviewing questions by email. And what else was that? What did I bring up on that? Craig, you mentioned, I think last time when we discussed this, sending the questions to the folks that we're going to interview, or
I
did I
was,
imagine that?
I think we're probably too late on that.
Okay.
I was just trying to find a way to maybe speed up our meeting. If we had answers to all of our questions, they could just summarize why they want to be on the board, but rather than take so long. But I think at this time, we
All right.
probably just need to move forward.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, next item of discussion, I have a real quick message here for everyone. I asked Alan if he would move to be our representative to the Hayes Recreation Commission Board, and he will do so. I guess there's some question on how often that board meets, but they do meet at somewhere.
I think they meet once a month, I believe.
They provide us minutes, so I know they meet somewhere.
I know Mr. Albers is on the committee. He could make sure where that is and when.
Okay, very good. Any more discussion points, folks? Before we move on to the next item? All right, moving on. Item number 7, executive session. We do have a meeting to have tonight. I'll go ahead and make a motion here. I move to enter into executive session pursuant to the Kansas Open Meetings Act for the purposes of discussing matters relating to non-elected personnel. The open meeting will resume at, I think we need a few minutes break, and then we'll try to, okay, half an hour after that, so about 8:10. Is that too much?
No.
Okay, 8:10. In addition to the board, the superintendent, assistant superintendent for director of curriculum, the assistant superintendent of business services, director of special education, the board attorney, and the non-elected individual. Also, the Hayes NEA representative. Do I have a second for my motion?
Second.
I heard Tammy first. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. And please vote electronically. Same way, if we can.
I'll just stay in here, Mark.
When we can. Oh. Yes, we'll need to stay in this room because the other room's not available. So what we'll do is after we say, like, we click yes on this one, we'll ask the people I did not list to leave. Okay, I voted. So why don't we try to get back in the room. Let's give ourselves like 5 minutes if we can do that.